You're watching WESH 2.
Some major developments in the ongoing coronavirus pandemic tonight. First, the announcement that all public schools K through 12 will remain closed until at least April 15th. The governor is promising another update by the end of the week, but says that he anticipates all schooling to be done online for the remainder of the spring semester.
Across the state of Florida, all bars and nightclubs have been ordered to temporarily close to help curb the spread of COVID-19. Restaurants will continue to operate, but have been ordered to do so at half capacity.
Meanwhile, Congress is working to pass a massive bill that is aimed at helping to struggling Americans. Now, that could mean sending checks to those who have been the most significantly impacted by loss of work. And now to tonight's presidential preference primary as we break down the results right here in Florida.
There are two big takeaways from tonight. For President Donald Trump, who has run mostly unopposed on the Republican side, he's now claimed enough delegates to become the presumptive nominee. The other big story is Joe Biden's clean sweep of our state, picking up a significant amount of delegates and pushing him ever closer to the nomination. WESH 2 political reporter Greg Fox joins us now to show us how Democrats in different local counties voted.
Yeah, and this was just unbelievable for Joe Biden tonight. When you take a look here, the field of blue in Florida is very strong for him tonight. There you go. He wins with 62% of the vote, 23% for Bernie Sanders. How did it look county by county? Let's break it down here. Orange County, Biden gets 57% to 33% for Sanders. Bernie does well in the more liberal metro counties. That's why it's all downhill from here. In Osceola County, Biden gets 50%. But a substantial drop. Why? Strong voter support for Mike Bloomberg, who is no longer in the race. In Seminole County, the former vice president gets 58% of the vote. Now, keep a close eye on Seminole this year. Republicans outnumber Democrats by a razor-thin 2,100 votes. That could go blue this year. Moving on to Lake County, where Biden gets nearly 70% of the vote. Why? Because the Republican-dominant county has a lot of conservative Democrats who were probably turned off by Sanders. How will they vote in November? That's a good question for Marion County Democrats as well, who went big for Joe Biden with 67%, and right next door in Sumter County, 69% for the former vice president. Look at that, just 9% for Bernie Sanders. Let's head out to the coast now in Flagler County, continuing to deliver a strong victory for Biden. They're at 69%, 18% for Sanders. The Vermont senator picks up his game in Volusia County with 22%, but again, it's really all Biden here, 58%, dragged down again a bit by a strong showing from Bloomberg. And finally, along the Space Coast, Brevard County, Biden hits the 60% mark to 24% for Sanders. Bottom line here, there were 16 Democrats on the ballot. Biden delivers a more impressive victory than Hillary Clinton did 4 years ago. Jim?
Greg, thanks. Joe Biden is speaking out tonight after securing wins here in Florida, Arizona, and in Illinois.
Our team coverage picks up with WESH 2's Stuart Moore with Biden's reaction to tonight's wins.
Meredith, in a clear sign of these very odd times through which we are living, Vice President Biden did not address a raucous crowd of enthusiastic supporters in a ballroom full of balloons. Instead, he addressed the public through a much more somber and safer live stream out of Wilmington, Delaware.
In Florida and Illinois, we're still awaiting to hear from Arizona. Our campaign has had a very good night. We've moved closer to securing the Democratic Party's nomination for president.
Mr. Biden was clear to address the coronavirus crisis sweeping through the world and the nation. He made clear to point out the virus does not care if you are Republican or Democrat. But despite party differences, he says it's time to stand with each other.
We're all in this together. This is a moment for each of us to see and believe the best in every one of us, to look out for our neighbor, to understand the fear and stress that so many are feeling.
According to a CNN primary poll, many Democratic candidates who voted said they prioritize nominating a candidate who can unite the country. Biden said his goal is to unify the Democratic Party and then unify the nation. Guys, Bernie Sanders did not make remarks tonight. Jeremy Mayer, back to you.
Stu, thank you. With Joe Biden winning the Florida Democratic primary, what's next now for local party leaders?
WESH 2's Dave McDaniel spoke with a local leader in Seminole County tonight.
We want a united party, so that's where we're going.
The ongoing issue with coronavirus meant changes in disinfection and sanitation at polling places. But people did go to the polls and made their preferences known. The threat of the virus forced Seminole County Democrats to watch results from home after they canceled their watch party, and now they look ahead with Biden as the state's choice.
He was in the White House for 8 years. He was involved in a lot of the foreign policy decisions that were made.
So now Democratic Party leaders will work to build a consensus which might be harder to achieve because of coronavirus. It might take door knocks and handshakes off the table.
We're going to coalesce behind the winner, which we think is going to be Biden, and we're going to go from there. We're going to, if we can canvass, we'll canvass for him. But if we have to do it through the internet.
There were fears people might not vote for fear of being too near one another. Seminole County says it spaced out polling booths, staggering them for everyone's protection, in addition to cleaning and sanitizing. Recchi believes health care will become an even bigger issue now, and hopes eventually he can meet voters face-to-face to garner support.
We're hoping that, come summertime, maybe we'll actually be able to knock on a few doors again. But again, we'll take our lead from the healthcare experts.
In Seminole County, Dave McDaniel, West 2 News.
Voting locations all over Central Florida took extra precautions to help voters feel safe, and Osceola County was definitely one of them. West 2's Megan Mulatto has that part of our team coverage.
Well, we're here at the Supervisor of Elections office, but earlier today we went by several polling locations across Osceola County, and things were notably quiet. Now, on top of some safety precautions like enhanced sanitation, Osceola County actually relocated one of their polling sites to keep people away from a local retirement community. Now, we did see some voters coming in to cast their ballot. They tell us that they value their voice in this election over their fears of getting the virus.
I just turned 19. And I haven't been able to vote, so I've actually been really excited to be able to vote.
I feel like we're at a big turning point, and right now, if we don't come out and do something, this is deciding our future.
Concerns over the coronavirus didn't stop Sophie and Abdias from coming out to vote.
I wash my hands like 20 times a day. Every time I go out, every time I touch something, I just wash my hands.
They say they feel safe leaving their homes to cast their ballots because they've been taking the proper precautions. The Osceola County Supervisor of Elections, Mary Jane Arrington, says the county also took proper precautions.
We are working to make sure that our polling locations are clean and sanitized. We have sent out hand wipes and hand sanitizer.
Turnout-wise, Osceola County also saw smaller numbers.
Osceola County voters like early voting and vote by mail, so we had a good turnout for those two methods. Today's a little slower than I expected, but that's, I think, only natural for the situation our country's in.
We did also see some voters vote without leaving the comfort of their car. They drove up to the Supervisor of Elections office and just tossed their mail-in ballot into the drop box. In Osceola County, Megan Mulatto, West 2 News.
It's important to point out that more than 2,000 more Democrats came to the polls in Osceola today. Republican numbers were down because only President Trump was competitive.
In addition to the presidential preference voting today, people in Central Florida counties also cast ballots in local elections. Apopka voted on a pair of city council seats. Incumbent Douglas Bankson defeated Leroy Bell for seat number 3, and for seat number 4, incumbent Kyle Becker claimed victory over Lorena Potter. The ballot in Flagler Beach featured several amendments. One that would amend the city charter with gender-neutral language was overwhelmingly approved. You can see all the local results now on WESH.com. Ohio was initially set to have its primaries today before Governor Mike DeWine announced a lawsuit Monday to push back the date. A judge ruled against DeWine's suit, but the governor announced his state health director would prevent polls from opening due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, Illinois did hold its primary tonight. Joe Biden is the projected winner, leading Bernie Sanders by double digits. Arizona also voted tonight, and it's another win for Joe Biden. Today's turnout in Arizona was higher than the voting 2 years ago.
For U.S. states and Puerto Rico have delayed primaries. Those are Maryland, Kentucky, Georgia, and Louisiana. Wyoming has not canceled its caucus, instead encouraging people to vote by mail. The Wyoming caucus is set for April 4th, but elections officials there are evaluating the situation. We have seen Florida at the center of multiple cyber threats. So as voters cast ballots today, we asked, how secure was that vote?
Local supervisors of elections say they'll know if the results were hacked during today's primary, and all the steps to keep ballots secure.
As voters were casting ballots, one concern on many minds, whether hackers from Russia or other countries were once again targeting Florida for cyber attacks.
So what was being done to protect your voter registration information and, most importantly, your choices at the polls? WESH 2 political reporter Greg Fox lays it all out.
Since hanging Chads 20 years ago and as recently as the 2018 recounts, Florida again faces the nagging question, is my vote safe?
And every time we go through a particular crime or a threat against one of our governments, we get better.
Speaking at a cybersecurity conference, Attorney General Ashley Moody said Russian interference in the 2016 elections, detailed in the Mueller report, and a Senate committee investigation pointing to 4 Florida counties targeted in email hacks were wake-up calls. She's telling voters computer software and hardware upgrades have fortified election systems.
I have made getting better, targeting where our holes are, make sure we're filling those gaps to protect Floridians, and we will continue to do that every day.
Another one of those holes was exposed just last month.
Oh, I was shocked. I didn't know anything about it.
Wendy Link, who became Palm Beach County's election supervisor a year ago, just learned that weeks before the 2016 election, some files and documents were hijacked in a ransomware attack. The state knew nothing about it, so Link called the FBI.
That coming to light probably bumped us up a little bit in terms of having the Department of Homeland Security being willing to come in with their specialty teams to really take a full look at our system.
So we've had 2 federal grant programs, and we've used those money to harden our systems, to do some studies on our systems.
Orange County Election Supervisor Bill Cowles showed us how that money has been spent. It includes the Albert server, now in every county, that patrols emails and other computer activity and shares it with election headquarters nationally.
It's a national traffic cop, keeping an eye on traffic, letting you know when somebody appears to be breaking the law.
Exactly. So as soon as something gets generated or detected, then immediately sends an alert, not just to us or to whoever got the detection, but across all the members.
Election supervisors say another defense against hacking is that all of the tabulation systems across Florida are not connected to the internet while voting is going on. It's only after you print the results that it's uploaded by wireless modem to election headquarters.
We give every voter a regular ballot.
But possibly the best defense against a cyber attack is a well-trained election worker. They're not only being taught how to spot emails carrying viruses, worms, and other malware, they're being tested. For example, this email appears to be from Wells Fargo Bank. The elections worker has the option of reporting it as a phishing email. Doing so delivers this message. Congratulations, the email you reported was a simulated phishing attack initiated by Orange County Supervisor of Elections Office.
Just fine.
Voters will be trusting that the staff, machines, and tech will all be working to protect their choices from cyber threats this election year. Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
You can take a deeper dive into tonight's results right now on WESH.com or the WESH 2 News mobile app. And as we get closer to November, bookmark our page to monitor where the candidates stand on the issues that matter most to you when you cast your vote.
Your first alert weather now. Pretty quiet weather night tonight.
Yeah, but a warm day today, Tony, and another warm one coming tomorrow.
I mean, I tell you what, you could pretty much set that and put in the bank here right through the upcoming weekend, Jim and Mary. Outside right now, though, pretty comfortable. 70 degrees. Wind is calm. Humidity's coming up at 87%. The dew-point to measure amount of moisture a little bit higher than we'd like for this time of the year. Here's the reason why. We got this big ridge of high pressure overhead. What that is going to do is prevent the moisture here, these storm systems, from moving south and east. The track is going to be up and over this big ridge through the Ohio Valley and well north of central Florida. That ridge will break down towards the end of the weekend, but until then, we'll get some clouds from time to time, a little bit of a breeze, but unseasonably warm and dry conditions for the rest of the work week. Let's take a look at those current temperatures down. We're in the upper 60s to the lower 70s. The lone exception here, Leesburg, still at 75. Out the door tomorrow morning, dropping to 66 in Leesburg, 65 here in town. Right there on the water, Melbourne Beach, 68 to about 70. Back towards Palm Bay, right around 67. We take a look at that day planner here for Wednesday. Mid-60s, cranking on up into the mid and the upper 80s here in town. We take a look at that setup for tonight and tomorrow. There's that big ridge of high pressure, only slowly moving off towards the east. A steady diet of east winds means we'll have to watch those dangerous rip currents pretty much the rest of the week. Afternoon highs tomorrow, cooler by a few degrees in eastern Orange County, 84, 85. Christmas, Winter Garden, you're running about 87. Lake Mary, Heathrow, back towards the University of Central Florida, Oviedo, running in the mid to the upper 80s. Winter Springs, you'll be at 86. Deltona, 86. And Ormond Beach right there on the water in the low 80s. Back towards Marion, Sumter, and Lake counties, mid and upper 80s here. Should about do it by the afternoon. And keep in mind here, as we're reading these temperatures, normally we would be in the upper 70s. 81 Satellite Beach, 87 back towards Point Siena. The other thing we're watching is the drought monitor. We'll get a new update on Thursday, expecting to see a lot more yellow here into central Florida. And with that in mind, let's take a look at the setup for the temperature forecast through the end of the month here. We will be remaining, for the most part, at or well above normal right through the end of the month of March. Thursday and Friday, here you go. You can see the east-southeast winds staying dry and warm right through Thursday and Friday. On into the weekend, a ray of hope, a chance for a little bit of rain, not Saturday, but Sunday, as that front slides south. A couple more showers back into the forecast. Let's take a look now at the updated 7-day forecast. Best rain chances arriving now. Late Sunday on into Monday, temperatures only a few degrees cooler by then.
Tony, thanks. Dozens of police officers descend on a neighborhood in Apopka over concerns that one of their own was coming under assault.
Up next, the search for the gunman who opened fire, striking an officer's cruiser. You're watching West 2 News at 11. Breaking tonight, Holly Hill police are in the midst of a death investigation involving a woman and infant child. Police tell us around 8:30 they discovered a woman dead along with a very young baby at an apartment along Ridgewood Avenue. Police say there were no obvious signs of trauma, but will have to wait for autopsies to determine the exact causes of death. Right now, officers are on the hunt for the person who opened fire on an Apopka police cruiser.
We were live last night as officers swarmed that scene. It happened just before 10 o'clock at the corner of Michael Gladden Boulevard and Washington Avenue. We're told it appears two people in separate vehicles were involved in some sort of fight and were shooting at each other.
We had a couple officers that were working down in the South Apopka area, and they heard a series of gunshots that were dangerously close.
As officers pulled away, they heard what sounded like a bullet hitting their cruiser. Turns out it had, but they say nobody was hurt. Multiple agencies, including Oviedo, Winter Springs, and Winter Park Police, assisted in the search for suspects, but so far, no arrests have been made.
And other local headlines, a deadly shooting is under investigation in Melbourne. Police say that a homeowner opened fire on several people who broke into their home at the Eagles Nest condos along North Wickham Road last night. One of the suspects, 22-year-old Evan Jackman, was killed. Investigators say this was an isolated incident and that no arrests have been made. Deputies in Flagler County helped U.S. Marshals catch a kidnapping suspect. They say the man was wanted for beating a woman from Putnam County and forcing her into a car. Flagler County say that their deputies tracked down 39-year-old Carl Oxendine yesterday and eventually stopped him along State Road 100. The woman was taken to a hospital with some injuries, but nothing serious. Another milestone in the race to November. More in tonight's Florida primary is straight ahead.
You're watching West 2 News at 11. Florida Democrats overwhelmingly voted in support of Joe Biden tonight.
In fact, the former vice president won in both Arizona and Illinois, the only other two states holding primaries today. With more than 93% of the vote in, Biden is currently projected to claim 148 of the state's delegates. Bernie Sanders still picking up some of Florida's delegates. But right now, Biden is the clear front runner in the nationwide delegate count. 1,991 delegates are needed to secure the Democratic nomination.
President Donald Trump also won in Florida's Republican primary and now has enough delegates to officially be the party's presumptive nominee. You can see all of tonight's results on the Commitment 2020 section at WESH.com. Now, we want to get one last check on your forecast.
Here's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Tony Manalfi.
All right, guys, as we get you ready for the morning, a little bit of patchy fog. Temperatures on the mild side coming in at about 65. 9 o'clock already warming up to about 74. And just in case you missed that extended 7-day forecast, we are talking about summer-esque weather, not for the first day of spring, that is. On Thursday, look at that, 88 Friday, Saturday. A few showers bouncing around by late Sunday and Monday.
The Sunrise crew will be on top of any overnight developments in the Florida presidential primary and the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, they are so eager to get on television. Most of them are already here at this early hour, staggering like zombies in the newsroom in search of strong coffee. And we're always on at WESH.com.
Thanks for watching. Hope you join us again tomorrow night.